Experience work interactions in a different and refreshing light. This is the Leader in You podcast, brought to you by EMC Leaders, taking care of the teams you care about. We bring the science of attachment and emotional connection with insight from the last 20 years to share how you can overcome conflict issues at work and build strong team relationships, as well as the connected culture.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Leader in You podcast. We're so excited to be here. My name is Polina, and I am lucky to co host this podcast with amazing Dr. Lola Gershfeld.
Hello, Polina. Well, definitely I missed you a lot. And I'm so glad you're back again. And I hope we're going to continue to this together because I loved this time together with you. And I want to say thank you to all of our
Oh,
listeners who support us and who listen to us. And thank you so much. You're doing an amazing job of learning and teaching others how to become better leaders and better team members.
I miss when we don't get a chance to record or I don't get to be on the podcast with you. I miss it too. But know that I'm still talking about you because even in all these events that I've been going to since we've moved here, all these influencer events, there's so much conflicts amongst, especially with the younger generation of influencers, the teen influencers. And there's a lot of conflicts that I hear about amongst the moms and their children, and then amongst the children. So we talk about this process because that is just as important to be teaching this and learning this process in every single type of business relationship. So whether it's in corporate, in an office setting, or if it's in the movie industry or whatever industry you're in, this process is so useful. So know that I'm still thinking about you and talking about the process and integrating it, even when I don't get a chance to jump on to these podcasts.
Thank you,
But
Balina.
I'm excited. Yeah, of course. Well, thank you because I wouldn't know this if you didn't teach me. So, and if you weren't so passionate about it. Actually, yesterday, Ellie and I were driving. Ellie's my daughter. For those of you who are listening, don't know. I have 5 kids, and Ellie is my oldest daughter. She's 16. And we were talking about you in the car because we're going to be doing a commercial for EMC Leaders. And we were just talking about like how we're going to do the commercials. And Ellie says, the process is so great. It's so useful and it works really well. We just have to figure out how to get it out there so people understand. And then she said, like, maybe we don't call it like emotions because nobody wants to talk about their emotions in the workplace. Maybe, and this is coming from a 16-year-old, right, that already has gotten that message. Maybe we call it something else, like dealing with, drama or, something that's a way that really attracts the younger audience to learning and understanding how to use this kind of language and use this process. So, yeah, it's nice to see like how and experience how much impact it has had just with what I've learned and how I've integrated it into my family, into my work, and what an impact it's made in everybody that I talk with. So I love doing these podcasts and I just love spending the time to go over and continue to, I think, instill and repeat that this is actually a very simple process. It just takes a lot of repetition and understanding of how the brain works for it to be effective
Well,
in
it's
your
like, I think it's like
relationships. So,
dancing, right? It's like dancing. You can't really learn how to dance by watching or by reading about it. You have to actually go on the floor, get on the floor, put on your dancing shoes and dance. And so I
yeah,
remember,
and it's like learning a language. It's like learning, I think it's like learning anything. The best way to learn it is to practice it.
yeah,
So,
exactly. Well, thank you so much for thinking about it. I'm excited. Yesterday, I did a training for a group of people, and they were also talking about the fact that they love this process. They see the impact it has, and by doing the demonstration we did, they felt so relieved just by organizing those emotions and by talking about it. It's like they said that it has been inside, so stuffed inside, that they finally
Yeah.
got it out, and it felt so relieving for them. And they were talking about the fact that some managers are just a shy away from talking about emotions. And I come back and I say, yes, that's true. Maybe society has not taught us. But because we created these tools and the list of emotions and the list of raw spots, it becomes so much easier for people to reference. So maybe at first they feel awkward, just like a new language, it feels awkward. But as they use it and they equip themselves with that language, they feel become more competent with the language, and it feels
Yeah.
so relieving for people. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, definitely. No, I agree. I agree. Which brings us actually to the topic of today's podcast. So, if you're not familiar to where Dr. Lola actually developed this EMC process, it was from a doctor named Dr. Sue Johnson, and she really got deep into understanding secure attachment, importance of securely attached relationships. And then from the securely attached model or secure attachment model, we learned that the importance of creating close connected relationships is to use this similar process. And so, although Dr. Sue Johnson didn't have the step by step system that Dr. Lola's created here at EMC Leaders, she really learned, like, oh, what does that look like? What are the important steps to take in a conversation, a bonding conversation, when a conflict occurs, in order to bring people back together from a conflict? So, in topic of that same discovery that led up to the EMC process, we are talking about something that aligns with just that, which is an acronym. And it's a specific acronym that Dr. Lola wanted to share about that has ties to ways you can remember and really identify the importance of getting back into our emotions and to understanding the importance of why it is that we want to specify what those emotions are, why we want to specify how it feels, what the image looks like, the entire process, the step-by-step process that you find on the form. So tell us about this acronym and what it stands for.
Well, we refer to interaction as a dance, and we always say, like, whenever you interact with people, you invite them to the dance floor. And emotion is the music of this dance. So the acronym is actually L tempo, right? L tempo, it's like the tempo that you are talking to each other, the tempo that you are dealing with the conversation, and how you dance together. So I'm going to explain each letter in that acronym. L tempo. L stands for longing for connection. We all long for connection, especially with people we depend on. And we depend on people at work. So we have to recognize that that longing is always there, no matter what. No matter what, you want to have a relationship with your boss or with your colleagues, you like them or you dislike them, there is a longing for connection just because there is a dependency. That's number one. L is for longing for connection.
I'm writing this down. So if
Okay.
you are listening or watching, get yourself a pen or paper and you can take some notes. It's for longing for connection.
Yes, L is for longing for connection. T is for triggers. So when we lose that connection, we get triggered. It could be the words we say, we hear, or the facial expression, the body language, the decisions that people make. It could be the tone of voice. We get triggered. So it's really important for us to understand what triggers us. I feel like this is our responsibility to recognize and to know our triggers.
Awesome. Okay.
So triggers are very important. So E is for emotion. Whenever we get triggered, we lose that connection, our brain goes into a certain response. And that response is activated by emotions, because we all know the amygdala that is responsible for emotions senses our safety. So if the amygdala is gets triggered and gets activated, we feel emotion. So it's very important for us to recognize what
I
emotions we
love
feel,
that.
what bodily sensations we have, what image when we are able to slow emotion down because emotion is very fast. We can understand what is going on for us and we can actually slow things down before we react to that trigger. M is for meaning. M is for meaning. When
Mm-hmm.
we experience a trigger and then we have emotion, we start to make meaning of that what is coming at us. So the message that we're getting, we start to make meaning. And sometimes, and more often than not, that meaning gets distorted by our inability to understand and slow down the emotion. Okay, so for example, you have a colleague who might not respond to you. That meaning could be interpreted in different ways. If you have a secure connection with that
Mm-hmm.
colleague, your meaning will be, oh, it's no big deal, the colleague is busy. If you don't have a secure connection with that colleague, then your brain will say, you see, that person doesn't care about me. And so the meaning might be is the automatic thought that happens for us to protect our connection with them. So we might say, I have to get away or I have to
Okay.
stop them. It's basically a response to the trigger that is happening for us for the loss of connection. Okay. And then P is for protection, protective behaviors that we use in order to protect the relationship, in order to protect the connection. So it's interesting because our protective behaviors actually continue to create more distance and more disconnection. But because we don't know how to deal with our emotions, we don't know how to understand our triggers and ask for what we need, we actually use these ineffective strategies to protect ourselves, to get that connection back. Isn't that weird?
It's
But
so opposite. I think that's something that I really learned too when learning this process is like when someone is doing something as a protective behavior, they typically feel like someone is doing that to them, right? So if you are blaming someone when you get upset, they typically feel blamed, or when you are a protective behavior could be also lecturing or criticizing, demanding. So they often feel like those same protective behaviors are pointed towards them.
exactly. So when we know and how to recognize these behaviors in a framework of attachment, we recognize that these behaviors, that there's some disconnection going on, right? So when people are complaining, blaming, judging, criticizing, lecturing, that's a protective behavior that pursues you. They want connection back. Or when people withdraw, distance, avoid, that's a protective behavior that they protect the relationship. Both people are protecting the relationship. This protection is really causing more and more disconnection happening. And the last letter in
Yes.
El Tempo is O. And O is for organizing.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is very important
Oh,
because
organizing all the emotion.
yes, organizing and the steps in the process, right? We organizing the triggers, organizing the raw spots, we organize emotions, we organize automatic thoughts, we organize protective behaviors. And then when we go through all of these steps, we are able to identify what is it that we need to feel safe and connected. It's kind of like the last step. But organizing helps us to
Okay.
clarify, be specific, and really help our amygdala to relax in the moment when the disconnection happens.
So why is this acronym important to you?
Well, I think it's important to understand that we have these longing because when people get triggered and they don't understand that they impact each other, they start to right away deal with symptoms, right? They deal with how do I change this behavior? How do I tell this person to stop being so aggressive? Oh, how do I tell this person to re-engage? And this is the problem for
Hmm.
people because when companies spend time of looking just at the symptom, but not addressing the core issue, which is disconnection that is happening, And people long for connection, and they will continue to behave this way until they learn about emotions and how to organize emotions. Then they will continue to be in that negative cycle.
Okay, this is what I think we should do. I think we should make a song out of this,
Okay.
out of this
I love it.
acronym. Okay. Okay. I love this. Okay, well let's see if I can put it together because I just wrote it out right now. Okay, while you're talking about it.
Okay.
We're gonna do it to the soundtrack of that song Love by Michael Bublé. It goes L is for the way you okay, but it's gonna be L is for the way you long for me. T is for all the triggers you see. E is every single emotion we carry, and M is more than any meaning that we explore, and P is
I go, continue. I love it.
P is for protecting the one. Okay,
One I
no.
care.
P. I'm still stuck on P.
No,
Is the
I like
protective
that.
behaviors I give.
Continue,
Right? Because
continue.
I feel like what happens when we get stuck in a cycle is that like what could be accessible to us? It's so difficult to take access from the tools that we've learned. And I think this is why we are constantly saying how important it is to practice and practice using the forms and pull out your forms in every single conflict that you have. Because when you do get triggered and you do get stuck, imagine you just start singing, you know? Imagine you can take this acronym and now instead of feeling like, because I think I think also, right? Like how many people get so like serious and stressed and the cortisol levels shoot up and we get so angry, we get those surface emotions come out so quickly, frustration and anger. And what if we just made this song with this acronym and then people just started singing every time they got in a conflict, And it's like a reminder instead of like El Tempo, you just start singing, you know?
I think you're very talented.
It
I
just
love this.
reminded me of Michael Bublé singing love, because the thing is like something I notice I do is like, and sometimes I've seen this too in teams, like people want to when they get into conflict, sometimes they want to make light of it, right? Like we maybe joke, we maybe laugh, and that tends to trigger other people also, right? Because maybe the other person feels dismissed or not important. But the making light of it, because it could get so overwhelming and it could be very heavy and difficult to process, and then if you have to, you end up having to switch so quickly into using the ineffective protective behaviors in that mode because that's the tools that you're reaching for, right? Like that's the only accessible tools that are available in the patterns that you have in these relationships. So I think
I
this is a
think using
great acronym.
yeah, I think that using it as a song in the moment when you want to regulate your own emotion is very helpful as long as you let people know why you're using it, right? You don't want to dismiss the other person's emotions or feelings in that moment, the seriousness of the topic that they may be discussing or fighting for, but and also recognizing that it's very difficult for you to continue with the seriousness. So you want to make it light for you and also
Mm-hmm.
recognize that it's very difficult for others. The whole thing,
Yeah.
we constantly practice for what purpose? We constantly practice to be accessible, responsive, and engaged with each other. That is the goal of the emotional connection
Yeah.
process, is how to help people to become accessible, responsive, and engaged. ARE. And I think El Tempo is a great, and having that song in your toolbox is a great way to do that.
Well, I think too, I keep thinking back to the team that I work with on a daily basis, and it's like, you know, it's not that and I know we just have to reiterate this over and over again. It's not that we don't have conflicts. It's not that we're like trying to resolve every single conflict so you don't actually have a conflict, or that, we're not going to have disconnections. It's like, can you be accessible, responsive, engaged while being disconnected? I think that's the other thing too, right? Because a lot of times when people are disconnected, they either shut down or they pursue, they're either withdrawers or they're pursuers, as opposed to staying still balanced in an emotional way where you can be accessible, responsive, and engaged, even though you are disconnected. So I think that's the other thing too. Because how do you, let's say you're in an organization and you're at work and you get into a conflict, and those conflicts are throwing people off so much off balance that they cannot thrive. So they cannot continue to fulfill their duties and their job because they are so off balance. And that is the whole point of this. We do the form enough times, you learn the process enough times so that you can still be in balance, or maybe get yourself back into balance as quickly as possible to stay accessible, responsive, engaged, even during a disconnected experience. So I think too, like this skill, of course, should be taught in every single school, but this is good life skill. This is not just for your work. This is a way to understand how to regulate and express yourself, your emotions, so that you can take this and apply it to every relationship and every experience you have in your life.
Right,
So,
exactly. And when people
yeah.
become, and I mean, I love what you're saying, that can people learn this process and continue to self-regulate or be in an emotional balance even though they feel disconnected in that moment. And that is a great skill to
Mhm.
have, because then everything is still moving forward. People don't get stuck, they continue to
Yeah.
communicate, they respond to each other, they help each other. It's harder, right? It's harder to be engaged, but the distance, the time between disengagement and engagement, or disconnection and back to balance, becomes shorter. And that's what we want in the company, to make that time shorter.
Well, I'm gonna go and put this song together because now I'm excited
I love
about
it. I love
singing.
this song. It means we're playing, right? We're not just performing. We are playing and we're creating and we're becoming vulnerable. And this is
Yeah.
what this fun is all about. Is about when we are connected, we can play.
Okay, well, thank you so much, everyone, for listening to the Leader in You podcast. My name is Polina, and I'm here with Dr. Lola Gershfeld. We so very much appreciate your time listening or watching. If you happen to be watching on YouTube, we have channels across all of the social media platforms. You can find us on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. It's just the Leader in You. Actually, it's EMC Leaders. And you can find shorts there and the longer form podcasts, of course, on all the podcast stations, or you can watch our YouTube videos as well. Thank you so
A-
much for watching or listening, and we will see you next time. Oh, we're going to be at
And
the ATD Org Dev.
yeah,
Ah,
tell
what
us.
else?
Well, we're going to be at the ATD conference on October 21st. We're doing two sessions. The first one is the panel discussion, from conflict to connection. And the second one, we are going to teach you how to navigate difficult conversations. So if you're in Houston, Texas, and you're attending the
Which is
conference,
my favorite topic. Yeah.
be sure to come to our session.
Yay. I'm so excited. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, everyone, for listening. It's a joy to share these podcasts with you. Be sure to check out our previous podcasts and subscribe to join us at our next podcast of The Leader in You, brought to you by EMC Leaders, taking care of the teams you care about. Until then, be well and be focused on your relationships. We'll see you soon.